far away, a young boy was born to parents unknown and lived in an outpost in a desolate desert land. This boy, a scab to most, possessed gifts that could not be explained by the other children who grew up around him, and these children who otherwise fought and bullied the boy. But the musings of lesser beings were of no consequence, as the boy knew his future was brighter amongst the stars than most. As the boy grew, his gifts attracted the attention of a wise sage who had plucked the boy from poverty and whisked him away to a place where his gifts would be nurtured. The boy flourished. A prodigy in the ways of his art, the boy amassed great power in a very short period of time. Far exceeding the expectations of his mentors, the boy wanted more. He wanted to venture off and onto his own and seek a life of adventure and love. But such tidings weigh heavy on the minds of the young and ignorant. This would ultimately lead to his folly. See, the boy, in his quest for power, forgot the teachings of his masters and began to fall victim to the temptations of the darkness. And, in a push and pull, ebb and flow, tug of war in his heart, came to a deciding moment which path he would finally have to choose, which would force this decisive hand. See, his fear, his anger, his hate, his suffering led him to a path of darkness. Pain followed. The child, now a man, lost in a shroud of deceit, lay waste to his academy, his friends, even children. See, he believed he brought peace to his new empire, but alone in a far-off, desolate hellscape, left in the wasteland he created, he found only sadness. His former mentor traveled to him, eager to save his former student and return him to the light. But it was too late. Too far down the path of self-righteousness and hate, the boy could no longer be saved. "If you're not with me, then you're my enemy," the boy said to his master. And only an evil deals in absolutes. They clash. They clash in a battle for all time. Teacher and student, brothers in arms, they fight for the freedom of the universe. But the student, well, they fight for his freedom. But see, the student, arrogant in his newfound power, attempts to seize the high ground from his master, only to be dealt the crushing blow that ends the conflict. Left on the barren wasteland, a vessel approaches to find the boy, left there to die, clinging for life. "I will take you, boy, and I will rebuild you to be more powerful than you could ever imagine." Taken to WQED Studios, the once innocent, impetuous, wide-eyed boy who only looked to the stars finds himself anew. The last vestige of an empire hell-bent on control. See, he is now their symbol of terror. His face posted on every lunchbox, action figures, video games, t-shirts. A shell of the man he was, now forever locked in the machine of war. It's the tragedy of Barney the Dinosaur, this week on Nothin Good.
Story of the Ages from Dave MacDonald. Well said, sir. I'll drink to Barney and his sacrifices.
And nobody knows how he got to where he came from.
Gone, but not forgotten, I guess.
Right. Mm-hmm. Yeah, nobody knows how that story all came about. Nobody ever talks about Barney's backstory, the tragedy, and then what happens after, the whores, the cocaine.
The most important part is just to remember that I love you and you love me.
We're best friends like friends could be.
That's right.
With a great big hug.
And a kiss from me to you.
There we go. Those are the teachings, the lessons that we have to take from that tragedy.
That's right. That's right. And don't go down that path.
No.
No.
Only darkness will follow.
That's right.
And public broadcasting.
To viewers like you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Welcome.
to another episode of Nothin Good. This is
It's a somber start.
Doc, joined by Jafar and Mac here. Now I need to drink. We're here at a wonderful, beautiful Sunday morning, joining you in Nothin Good Studios to talk about. Well, before we get there, actually, first and foremost, how are you gentlemen doing today?
Pretty good.
Yeah.
Everything hurts.
Yeah.
Yeah, Dave had quite a day yesterday. See, his whole intro monologue, I thought he was talking about Star Wars, as did you, until he threw the curveball at the end. Yesterday was May the 4th. Mm-hmm. The 25th anniversary of Episode 1 is this weekend, so I partook in rewatching that in the cinema on Friday.
Cool.
If you
was a
got
cool
us,
experience.
if you got us maybe 30 minutes earlier, we would have been there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was sort of like a last minute decision that we decided to do that. And I remember seeing that, when I was 18 when it came out. And even then it was a really cool experience because it was like the first Star Wars of our generation.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And it got so much hate over the years. But going back, I think there's far more respect on the prequel trilogy now than there was then. But in that moment, in 1999, like, it was crazy. Like, it was like full on Star Wars fandom, like, just came out of the woodwork. I remember we were there for opening night. It was me and my brothers and my aunt, and theaters were packed. The news was there. People were in cosplay, which wasn't even really a thing in the late 90s. And it was just such a cool experience. And part of the magic of Star Wars is the way that it sort of unites and binds people through the Force.
Through the Force. It's funny you mention the reception of the movie, and I think how the reception has changed over the years.
It definitely has.
I when I look back on that movie, and so yesterday to partake in the celebration of May the 4th be with you, not related in any way, shape, or form, I ran 5K. And when I ran this 5K, I had trained for not even a week.
Smart.
And
It's a
very
questionable
smart.
decision.
Most of the decisions I make in life are rather questionable, Jones. Thank you very much for that. But so a lot more elevation in this run than I've done previously, and some of the other 5Ks. Listen, everybody, I'm not going to sugarcoat this and be like, I ran a 5K. I participated in a 5K, and I finished it. I'm not going to say I ran it.
You survived it.
You got the medal and the picture to prove it.
I did get the medal. Listen, if you're not telling everybody that you ran a 5K, did you even really 5K?
Okay.
Exactly. So, but after that, went home, changed, got showered and everything, then went to the Pirate game. Pirates were doing a May the 4th celebration. It was Star Wars Day at the game. They gave away Star Wars themed bobbleheads for one of their players, which was pretty fun. Then, when the game was over, we went across the bridge to Heinz Hall, and where a friend of the show, as I always affectionately refer to him as Toys R Us Dave, not me, another Toys R Us Dave, actually, Dave Ullman, is a percussionist, and he was playing with the Pittsburgh Symphony Orchestra, and they did the Star Wars concert last night, and we went and did that. So it was a whole day of just running around the city of Pittsburgh and doing every little thing that I possibly could squeeze into like a 16-hour window. Jones is shaking his head like I can tell he's
like, that's too much for one day.
So much for one day.
No, listen. In my younger years, I enjoyed being active and doing things. I have reached the point where I appreciate, and I think it's just based on what I do for a living, I see it. I appreciate that downtime, rest. Just listening to all that makes me exhausted.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I typically at my job, and I guess there's a slight difference, right? I'm so used to being on my feet all day. I typically go about 13,000 steps a day. I just average that. So, the idea on my day off to do more walking, I want to punch the universe in the face.
Yeah, halfway through that, I wanted to.
There's nothing about that sounds pleasant.
As we're going through this, we're running, part of the race was in some of my old stomping grounds. It started at, downtown Pittsburgh. It ran to like CCAC around the park in the west, that park. I think it was West End Park or something, what it's called or something. But spent a lot of time there, ate a lot of lunches in the park and everything. And, we're going through this and I'm looking around like I could shave like 20 minutes off of this and just cut right through the park. But like that's very frowned upon to take shortcuts if you do anything like that.
I wouldn't judge.
Runners are decent people overall because they're all in anguish when they do this. Like nobody does it for fun.
They do it for the runner's high.
Yeah.
Let's be honest.
I've never experienced that. I just kind of have runners low and runners lower.
The runner's regret.
No, it's just more the disdain and everything and anything else. But the point why I'm saying all this is that when I was at the symphony last night, during intermission, I'm in line to get some Galactic Punch that they were selling. Nice. I like that the symphony and everything kind of does like specialty drinks, like themed drinks.
How much does a Galactic Punch run there?
So it's $8 for just the lemonade piece of it. It's lemonade, Sprite, and I think they had like this purple tea that they kind of mixed in. And then for another $6, you can add a shot of vodka. So
I hope you did that.
I mean, of course.
Okay, good.
But as I'm waiting in line, there's a very heated conversation behind me from three guys talking about the music and talking about episode 1 and things like that. And it got me thinking that, episode 1 and the way they made that movie was so ahead of its time. There's nothing ever done like that. That you had, as, evidenced by their track record, extremely talented actors in these roles. I mean, they didn't miss casting this thing. But none of them have ever done anything like this before, nor could they really question anything George Lucas was doing at this stage. Like, when you look back at, like, 1977 Star Wars, Mark Hamill, Harrison Ford, Carrie Fisher, they could poke the bear, right? Because who's George Lucas? He made American Graffiti, which is a good movie, and you're making this ridiculous Flash Gordon-esque space opera. So you can sit there and go, George, you can write this shit, but you certainly can't say it. And, what's going to happen? He's not even George Lucas. That's my Harrison Ford.
That's what I was assuming, because either that or like a Milton Berle.
Yeah, we weren't real sure.
Yeah.
We were just going to let it go.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Or that was my impression of Mark Hamill doing Harrison Ford. I think is probably...
Hold on. That was a really bad Harrison Ford actor.
Yeah.
Now that I'm thinking about it,
yeah.
How dare you?
Hindsight, you should have not told us.
Just went away from it.
Do I have a good Harrison Ford? Hold on. I don't think I've ever tried to sound like Harrison Ford. Can you do it?
Get off my plane.
No.
Yeah, that's all I really got.
Hold on. Give me a second. I'm trying to think of a good line. Well, I happen to like Wookiees. I don't know. That's the best I got.
No, just as bad as Dave's.
Yeah, that's what I figured.
I'm not even going to try.
No, don't. No. Of our 7 listeners, 4 just tuned out.
You know what? They didn't deserve to be here anyhow.
This is where I draw the line. How dare them?
You leave Harrison Ford alone. He's a goddamn American treasure. But like, when you go to make episode 1, I mean, George Lucas is he's beyond, approachable. He's like godlike at this point. I mean, not necessarily as a filmmaker per se, but the legacy he left from those movies and everything he created that has impacted cinema, the way that we watch movies, the way that you experience them, the way that you hear them, the things you see on screen. I mean, he revolutionized all of it.
Yeah.
So when he has to sit there after not directing for 20 years and you're sitting in front of a green screen looking at a tennis ball and he goes, go. I don't blame Natalie Portman for some dry delivery or Hayden Christensen for some dry delivery because, I mean... He
wasn't in that movie.
I know, but, Jake Lloyd, But,
he had no dry... He was pretty spot on with being an annoying child.
Yeah. That's the one casting I thought was pretty good. They went from Jake Lloyd being a very annoying child to Hayden Christensen being a very annoying young adult. Like they kind of transitioned that pretty well.
Yeah.
They did. But like I don't blame where people see shortfalls in that movie. Just because, if you make that movie today, I think that the things that maybe we critique more than not are probably, worked out much, much farther in advance.
Yeah, but it was interesting. So the theater was probably half full. We went to 9:15 showing, so it was pretty late. It was the last showing of the day, and there were a bunch of people there that looked like us. But
what the fuck you mean by that? Look like us.
They're like middle-aged guys. One had a lightsaber. Bunch of middle-aged white dudes.
Okay.
Watching Star Wars. And then directly in front of us was a row of like teenagers. And Melissa and I were just fascinated by the fact this is the first time they've experienced this movie like this.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like a whole new thing. And they were geeking out. And I was like, this is pretty cool.
It's kind of like how we were when they did the special editions.
Yeah.
I mean, I made my dad take me. Like, it wasn't even a question. It was
Yeah.
like a demand. You know, there's never a time that I ever demanded anything from my father, except like when those movies came out. I'm like, we're going to see those. You're taking me to go see those. So
I think sometimes that because when episode 1 came out, I mean, you were 18, I was hovering around 17, 18.
I think you and I were like 16, 17, Jones, yeah. It was 99.
I think that, ultimately, we sometimes forget. I know I forget. I think most fandom forgets that at the end of the day, these movies are for younger people. They're for, not kids, but they're for kids.
Yep.
Ultimately, Star Wars is for kids. Now, obviously, it's for everybody, but
Yeah.
it's aimed for kids. I can't tell you how many like younger cousins or godchildren or the like who got a chance to watch the prequel trilogy and they fucking loved it because they're not bad films. They're not objectively bad.
Yeah.
There's some
Kids aren't criticizing it.
no, because it's fun and it's
Yeah.
action and it's swashbuckling and it's swarmy and it's got witty dialogue, is about as witty as any Star Wars film, really. But it's fun. And I think we gotta sometimes not take it so fucking serious because unfortunately we grew up in a generation where that was the best we had. And like we grapple so hard onto it because we're like, oh, it's gotta be as good as Empire Strikes Back. Nothing will ever truly be as good because there was nothing like it before.
Yeah.
Like it can't be as good. Nothing will ever meet that. It's like your favorite artist's album, like, yo, that one album is like the best they ever did. There will be nothing ever like it ever again, and that's okay.
Yeah.
Like I like episode 1. I've always liked it. Do I love it? No, but I absolutely like it. I don't have the anger towards it that lots of people in our demographic have for it. I think the dialogue's the weakest part. But beyond that, I mean, it's fun.
Yeah, there's a possessiveness that our generation and the generation that came before us have where Star Wars is concerned. And we feel like Star Wars should have aged with us. And we lose sight of that. And I got reminded of this, Jones, because you mentioned it and it reminded me from last night. So, when the prequels came out, there are parts of it that I loved. I mean, the Darth Maul's duel with Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon
Marked so hard in the theater.
my God, it's just when the doors open and the music hits.
Yeah.
I mean, John Williams' entire score in those films are phenomenal. I love the pod racing scene. There are things about the movie that you can really kind of cling on to and just really, really love. But it wasn't meant for me as an 18-year-old or a 22-year-old. It's meant for the 8, 9, and 10-year-old who have that same possessiveness of the prequel trilogy like we did of the originals. Which brings me to 7, 8, and 9, which I am not a fan of for a whole bunch of reasons that we don't have enough time to record to talk about, at least in this episode. We'll have to do a whole series on that. But I was reminded because last night they did a little skit during the symphony where it was no frills. It's just the music on Star Wars stands on its own. So we're just going to set the scene for what the song is. We're going to play it. You're going to love it. No effects, no characters, no images. It's just the music. And it's great to go see that. But they did one little bit where they did the music in episode 4 when they just escaped the Death Star and they're in the Millennium Falcon and the TIE Fighters are pursuing. They played that. So the effects they had is they brought 2 kids on stage. One had a toy Millennium Falcon, and the other was a young girl who they gave her a TIE Fighter. And then at points while they were playing the music, they just walked across stage, and like the girl was chasing him with the TIE Fighter with the Falcon, right? And the girl was dressed up as Rey. Hair done exactly like Rey's hair was done in The Force Awakens. Had the full desert, outfit that she had on, the sleeves and everything. And I leaned into Steph and I go, that girl idolizes Rey. I might not have that same kind of feeling for Rey. Not necessarily because of her, but some decisions they made in the storytelling of those movies that I just didn't really like personally, but like there's going to be an entire generation of little girls that are all going to be Rey Skywalker. And that's what these movies are about.
Yep, exactly.
So I just thought that was really cool to kind of see that. I was like, Seth couldn't really see it very well from where we were kind of sitting because we were up in the nosebleeds, but it was still like really cool. I'm like, yeah, that's that right there. That's who Star Wars really belongs to. Yeah, that's who it really belongs to. So, which then when you think about it, it's kind of like an indoctrination into a cult.
In a way,
yeah. Because they're going to get those kids. I mean, look, I'm in my 40s and I just bought $175 worth of Legos, Star Wars Legos, just the other day. And I went and bought a Rancor coffee mug because, capitalism.
Yeah, I went to pick up some of my my comic subscriptions yesterday. And the guy who works there, same guy, we always chat and bullshit for 10, 15 minutes whenever I go. And we're talking and we every few visits, we always end up coming down to the MCU fandom. He and I are very much on the same line of like this whole like what we've been seeing like the last several movies and properties have been perfectly fine and they're enjoyable. And he and I got into this like kind of a longer conversation, just discussing like kind of fandom, like and I like the word you use, the possessiveness, and how it needs to be a certain thing in order for it to be as good as the thing that you like the most. And I'm like, the fascinating thing is, I rewatched the Marvels the other day. I know, shame on me.
No.
And I'm like, man,
no, Jones, no. Not shame on you.
This movie's really fun and it's enjoyable.
Do not go ahead and just
don't fall into their trap.
Don't fall into their trap and just splurge their propaganda back out into the world.
So I was being sarcastic.
Okay, thank you.
I feel like that goes without saying.
Listen, I as a Marvel fan, as a movie fan, as a person who studied cinema, I can appreciate what a lot of these movies do and take them for what they are. That movie was not as bad as its box office was. That movie was not as bad as the criticism it got. I think there's a different story you could have told in that movie that would have made it, I think, a lot more interesting. But
we can say that with any film.
Yeah, but I don't think it deserved the fate that it got. No, and that's all the
movie's fine, and it's enjoyable, and it's fun, and that's exactly what it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
I'm like, and now my argument is always, not everything has to fucking be the Winter Soldier. Can we just fucking say that out loud? Because you ask any dude, bro, what's your favorite MCU movie? Oh, man, Winter Soldier. Of course it is. Yeah, and it's a great fucking film, don't get me wrong. It's fun. But not everything needs to be Infinity War. There has to be a let me up. There has to be here, down here, for it to be back up here. If everything's up here, nothing matters anymore. Right? Like,
yeah, if you look at the MCU, like, pay-per-view match card, like, if every match was a 5-star match, like, it's too much.
That's fatigue right there.
Yeah.
Nothing matters if everything's the most important, explosive, world-changing event ever.
Yep.
Now, yes, of course, there could be narrative changes, there could be costume changes, there could be VFX changes. But again, any film, especially these days, with the budgets that they have, you can use that as a critique. But just for what they are, because there's a difference between comic fans and mainstream movie fans. There's a big fucking difference. See, I'm a comic fan, and I, understanding comics, understand that they're not for everybody. Like, what was it, Vampirilla? I think that's her name. We all know Vampirilla, right? Nice to look at. I'm never going to buy any of the fucking issues. It's not for me. It's literally not for me. I'm not the target. I'm not the audience, right? I'll pick up an X-Men book. I'll pick up a Batman book. I'm the audience for that. I'm not going to pick up X Factor. Not me. It's not my thing. For some reason, people have a really hard time wrapping their heads around that not every single thing has to be for them.
Yeah.
Right? Miss Marvel, fucking fantastic show. I love that fucking show. Like, I think it's hilarious, and it was good. It was upbeat. It was a different vibe.
I really enjoyed Miss Marvel.
It was so good. I did. It was coming of age. It was like a totally different feel. And that's what it was supposed to be.
And somebody who you could clearly tell loved playing the character
God damn, it was infectious.
Yeah, it was.
And it translated into the movie, too.
And they, in this world of this mega studio where almost every movie has to be $1 billion movie, I think you lose sight of the fact that these are comics.
Yes.
Like when you hear the word comic, you think of things being lighthearted, entertaining, enjoyable, silly,
potentially funny.
Yeah, you laugh at it, right? When I think comics, the first thing I think about is a Sunday paper. I think of Garfield, Our Sunday paper didn't really get Spider-Man or anything until like way, way later on.
Yeah, it's unfortunate.
It was. But, when you think of comic books, obviously you go in the direction you're going in. And Marvel's kind of done that same thing, which I agree with you, Jones, entirely, that, She-Hulk may not have been made for me. That's not necessarily the audience they're trying to go to. When you have a movie like Captain Marvel that comes out that has a female lead that makes $1 billion, you go, you know what? Women like this stuff too. Women have jobs. Women make money. Women can spend their money on whatever entertainment they want. Why wouldn't you want to give more to that market and keep that audience? Because you have the dude bros, like you said. You've got the guys that look at the cinematic universe and go, Winter Soldier is the greatest Marvel movie ever made.
Yeah.
I'm one of those dude bros a little bit in that capacity because I do love that movie. But I do look at Echo and know that that's not exactly the audience. I'm not the audience really for that. I can still watch it. I can still enjoy it, or maybe not enjoy it, but it's okay because they're trying to give people more stories.
Because there's so many stories to tell.
There are, and in a world where you try to have more stories, what's wrong with that?
Nothing.
Like these people. Oh well, we don't need to have all these. Yes, you do.
We really do.
Entertain me.
I can only take so much Avengers.
Yeah.
Like, honest to God,
yeah.
They're all enjoyable movies. I enjoy them all. Great fucking films.
Two of them are.
We are. I mean, just in a vacuum. In a vacuum, right? In a vacuum, 95% of the MCU movies are really, really good. In a vacuum, except for like Thor 2 and Iron Man 3. There's a couple that aren't so hot, honestly, but even them aren't bad films. They're just maybe the story's not so great, right? But where's the intense backlash for Iron Man 3? It did not live up to Iron Man.
Iron Man 2 wasn't great either.
It was not amazing.
No.
You know what's funny? No one talks about how bad the other two were. It doesn't matter.
The thing, and I think we may have had a conversation about this. Maybe I had this with somebody else that I was working with, but I kind of looked at phase 1 through phase 3. You had like 22 movies, 45 to 48 hours of content that they created and distributed over the course of 10 years. When you get to phase 4, they have almost 22 different stories and properties totaling over 40 hours. We got in a 2-year span, 3-year span, what we got in 10 years leading up to that. And I think for a lot of people to wrap their heads around that, I don't think they're ready for it.
No, you may be right.
And I don't know if anybody was really ready for it. The idea of always constantly having to produce content, Star Wars kind of being something like this too. Disney purchases these things for billions of dollars.
They got to get their money.
And they have. Oh, they have. I mean, they're just printing money on this stuff. But, the idea is, well, keep the story going, keep it in the realm of general, awareness. But they also kind of forget when you do that, absence makes the heart grow fonder. When you have downtime, when you have times to go back and watch things again and enjoy things again. One of the movies that you didn't mention here, but I'll mention about Marvel, is The Eternals. I actually think The Eternals is a fine movie.
Yeah, it was fine.
After the first time I watched it, it was a lot to take in. Wasn't quite sure.
It was not expected, like the heaviness of it.
Oh, yeah. But when I watched it again, I'm like, now that I kind of know where the story's going, I was really able to enjoy it.
And it fucking sucks because I would like to see a sequel. I would love to see where they're going with some of these other characters. And we're probably not going to see that. No, and it fucking sucks. Because just like you watch it once, you're like, wow, that was a fucking lot. Like, when I watched it the first time, I'm like, oh, man, that was like, because I'm familiar with the Eternals, more or less. And I'm like, watched it, I'm like, okay, cool. Like, they changed some things. So that's fine, I didn't get my pitchforks out for the changes because it doesn't fucking matter. It's still a movie. And
Yes, it's a movie.
still a fucking movie.
That's
There are actual people dying in the world, and I swear to God, I don't have the fucking mental and emotional capacity to put that level of fucking intensity to a fucking movie or a video game or a musical artist. There are really important things in the world that people need to get their shit together, but that is a fucking conversation for an episode that probably won't happen on this podcast.
no, probably not.
We should, but we won't. But upon watching the movie again, I see what the point was. I see where they were going with it, and I was into it. Like I'm always of the thought that comic book films, like now that we've been doing this for so long, like the weirder the better, the wackier the better, the more out there the better. I think that's why Guardians worked so well, because it was fucking out there. People didn't have an established understanding or expectation level of these characters.
The expectation is the biggest thing. And because, if you look at the general populace who maybe have never been in a comic book store before, all they know about comic book fandom is what they see in the movies. And so everyone just expects another Avengers. Mm-hmm. But if you take that person out of the theater and drop them in front of a rack in a comic book store, and say, well, here's the 3 books on the Avengers that are available this week. And if you just ever so slightly turn to your left, there's about 1,000 other books and 1,000 other properties. So yeah, there's a lot of fucking stories to tell that aren't necessarily about the Avengers.
You know what's interesting about that too is that when you take that person out of the theater and put them in the comic book store, and you say the weirder, the wilder, the better. I think about Thor: Love and Thunder. Now, when we got Thor: Ragnarok, Taika Waititi, they had a lot of fun making that movie, you could tell.
Yeah.
And they told a really fun Thor movie. We really enjoyed it. So they gave us more of that. And then you're like, oh, I don't know that I really wanted more of that.
Yeah, that's too fun. We don't want that.
Right.
That's too much fun. How dare you?
So, I was reading an article in Variety because Chris Hemsworth has Mad Max Furiosa coming out and everything. And they were talking about that. And he's like, he kind of beats himself up a little bit over how Thor: Love and Thunder went. He's like, I think we just got a little bit too,
carried away
with the improvisation and everything. I'm like, motherfucker, that movie made $1 billion worldwide, made $500 million domestic. People still went and saw it.
Yeah.
I don't know that you need to be kicking yourself too much. That's still a very successful movie that you produced. It doesn't need to be Avengers.
No.
But if you keep producing, the same things over and over again, your audience will absolutely get bored about it and criticize it. When you go and try to change things and keep things fresh, you have those same fanboys, and this is kind of going back to what I was talking about, that audience, that very vocal minority who just says no.
Either way,
they're gonna bitch. Because they're just miserable in their own lives, which is why they spend all their time on the internet and just put vitriol out into the world because they're unhappy with themselves and can't enjoy shit.
We're looking at you.
Well, not you, the person next to you.
Yeah. Well, no.
Yeah.
They know what they did.
The one that's not listening to this podcast.
What they did. They know what you did.
He's sitting with you next to you on the bus.
Everybody knows.
Yeah. And I just think that's unfortunate. Kevin Smith said something that I really, really loved on his Jay and Silent Bob podcast, where he's like, I never thought in my life that I would get to see a movie with all of these characters in it. It breaks all the laws of movies that we've had leading up to this point. Give me all of that. I thought about that with the Ninja Turtles 2 movie, the animated one. Well, not the CG one that came out about 6 or 7 years ago. Whether or not it was a good movie, it was fine. But I got to see Krang, and I got to see Bebop and Rocksteady, and I got to see the Technodrome in a movie. And I never thought, if I would have went and told 8-year-old Dave, you're gonna get this in your lifetime, and you're gonna hate it.
And you're gonna fucking hate it.
Imagine you write a letter to your future self, and you're like, you're gonna hate the shit out of it.
8-year-old Dave would have gave me a nut shot for that kind of comment, man. And I took that into the theater with me when I saw it. It's like, I'm not here looking for for The Dark Knight. I'm not looking for Citizen Kane. I'm not looking for that kind of shit. I'm looking for a popcorn movie that's going to entertain me. And I think people lose sight of that with too much of this stuff, because as big as these movies are, as much as they're tentpoles, as much as studios and people's careers and everything depend on it, these are movies meant to be seen in theaters with a big bag of popcorn and a big Coke and a box of candy, and you're just supposed to suspend your disbelief and just fucking enjoy yourselves.
That sounds like diabetes in a fucking handbag.
Yeah.
Whew.
Yeah.
But I agree.
I mean, you can get nachos if you want, but I mean, you're kind of rude crunching in a movie theater.
Oh, fuck those people.
Those people might want to fuck you.
Oh. Well, how you doing?
That's why the floors are always sticky.
Oh, that makes total sense.
Hello.
But yeah, I totally agree with you, and I'm just really fatigued from people being fatigued, if that makes sense. Like, I like to just enjoy shit and have fun and just be done with it. And like, once I'm notorious for watching movies once and then I don't have to watch them ever again. A very rare. It has to be like has to resonate with me, and most movies don't. Like, they resonate in that moment, and they, with the cinematography, the music, the acting, the delivery, there's an emotional response that elicits the Pavlovian deal, where you feel it, you get a little misty-eyed, somebody dies, whatever happens. That's a normal reaction you have. But once the credits roll, I'm gone, right? I don't think... There are really very few MCU movies I've watched more than once willingly. Very few. And there's so many of them. I think maybe 3 I've watched more than once on. Like, I actively, like, Avengers, Iron Man, probably Endgame. Like, I've actively went out of my way to watch more than once. And that's it. Because they're one and done to me. Like, and that is from a fan of these characters. But they're one and done. I don't wrap my entire identity around them.
Yeah.
And that's, I think more people should just do that. Just one and done.
Just enjoy the experience in the moment, and then go on to the next thing.
Because there's always another thing.
It's always.
There's
plenty of other things.
Yeah.
Like, goddamn, son. Like, let me have fun.
Yeah.
Let me enjoy. Like, I make fun of Dave for, like, really enjoying the Transformers franchise. And, like real talk, like, I did enjoy the first one because it was enjoyable. It was fun. And it had some serious beats to it. It had a fair story, and it was fun. I enjoyed it. I watched that movie more than once, multiple times, because it was fun. I actually saw it in the theaters like 2 times. Once with maybe you guys.
Yeah, we all went and saw it.
And then once with my dad, because I thought he'd enjoy it, and he did. But like everything beyond that, it's not for me. I'm not the audience, and yeah, I give him shit for it, but I don't hate Transformers for it. I don't really dig on Mike Bay really that much for it, but I don't hate Transformers for it.
There it is.
And I just wish more people could be like that. Just like let me have fun.
Yeah.
Do better, people. Come on.
Like, enjoy yourselves. This is a short life you have.
Now, before we transition to why we're even here, I'm gonna ask this fucking question at least every episode or every other episode until I get a fucking positive answer. Okay, I know you have.
Okay.
I'm looking at you, Jeff. I know you have, because
with an eye roll.
I mean, goddamn, you have children. You still have somehow find time. But Mac, have you watched any of the X-Men cartoon yet? 97. Speaking of the MCU and how people have been like, "Oh man, we're talking about a property that's getting so well reviewed."
It is.
Like, and ironically, he's not watched the thing that's getting like the best reviews MCU-wise in years. Actual years.
I have been doing my best to actively avoid spoilers. Because I've heard some of the episodes have been pretty amazing. Kind of waiting for the series.
I swear to God, you better not say that. I knew you were going to say it.
Kind of waiting for the series to kind of... Well, I didn't get a chance to start watching it.
Because he hasn't started watching it.
No, it's not even started watching it. There's only 2 left.
By the time they all come out, he's still not going to...
Now, there have been a couple of evenings where I have sat down to watch it, and then I had fallen asleep on the couch.
See...
That's my... Listen, you want the God's honest truth? I'm going to tell you the God's honest truth. I get to that point in the evening where Steph goes to bed. It's the television's mine. I can put on whatever I want to watch. And I get nestled in. I get in my little corner of the couch and everything. And within 2.5 minutes, I'm asleep. And, that's been my challenge. So
interestingly enough, this capitalist country we live in, they invented this thing called weekends, where you don't actually have to work. And with your extra free time, you can do things you want to do. But Dave fills it with things he doesn't have to actually do.
Other things I want to do.
Like watch X-Men 97.
I wanted to go to
Run
a
a
symphony.
fucking marathon, go to the symphony, go to a baseball game. Jesus fucking Christ. I respect it, but goddamn, son.
There are people-
You could have watched one episode.
There,
32 minutes.
You literally could have watched
you only
one.
need 32
there are
minutes.
people. There are people in this house that like marathons. There are friends of yours that like baseball games. There are friends of yours that like going to the symphony. I just happen to roll all three of them in at the same time.
They've all seen X-Men 97.
Yeah, like what the fuck? My wife has watched every episode. That says something.
Same. Mine too.
Just make your wife fucking watch it with you.
I try.
Just go listen. Do you love me? Yes. Okay, watch this episode with me. No, you said you love me. Give me 20 minutes. 26
Typically,
minutes.
when I ask that question, like, "Do you love me?" She's like, "Why?
Why?
Where is this going?
Where is this going?
think
What
she'd
did you?
like it.
What did you buy?"
Like, it's way more serious than she probably thinks it's going to be. And I
don't know.
really fucking
Man,
want to talk about
it
the show
is so-
on our show.
it is
And I
so
can't
good.
until Dave
We'll
catches
talk
up.
about it next time.
No, we fucking won't.
Yes,
Because
we
you're still not going to
fucking
watch
will.
it. I swear to
We're
God.
gonna
I'm
ask
doing
you
that.
on the next episode.
Like legit.
watched it.
This is what's going to happen. I'm going to fucking tell you what's going to happen.
Not in the series.
I have been friends with Mac here for a very long time now. And this all comes from love because it's like a brother to me. And that's why I can say it. What's going to happen is there's only like 2 episodes left. Such a fucking good show. It's going to end. And then Dave's going to say, well, now that it's over, I can magically somehow binge watch all these when I didn't have time for 26 minutes of the first one anyhow, but whatever. And then there's going to be a baseball game. And then there's going to be a baseball game. And then, wait, hold on. There's going to be another baseball game. And then it might be softball. And then hockey's going to start again. Yeah, we already skipped like 7 months. And then, well, Jones, I can't
He's
watch
laughing
X-Men
because he knows it's
because
true.
there's a fucking hockey game tonight. Well, oh, Jesus Christ, Dave.
I am currently watching Scott Pilgrim on Netflix. That's where my attention has been currently, to finish watching that series that I have started before X-Men did start. So
You can watch fucking both. People do that.
I know, but I keep telling you about me falling asleep.
Jesus Christ. Would you like for me to, like, sit with you while you watch it to make sure you don't fucking fall asleep? 'Cause I swear to God, I'll do it.
Spray him with a water bottle or smack him.
You lived with me when we watched wrestling, and I would just
you
keep
fucking
falling
fall
asleep. I would
asleep.
fucking fall asleep.
Well, that was like 2 hours of fucking TV, though.
Oh man, remember when Raw was 2 hours?
Yeah.
This is me changing the subject to get me off the hot seat.
Yeah. All I'm saying is, we're, based on the show that we have, we reviewed the fucking show, like the actual original, and I'm like, okay, cool, we can talk about it. That was the plan. Remember, like, oh, we'll wait a couple episodes.
Yeah, that
and
was
Mac
the
just
plan.
flat out was like, I'm not fucking doing it.
Not
I ain't got
doing it.
time. I'm gonna run a fucking marathon.
We have
Poorly.
I'm gonna fucking run a marathon
Poorly.
and not watch X-Men
Yeah.
97. I'm not gonna watch 23 minutes of a TV show, but I'll run a fucking marathon.
So I do want you guys, so,
God
you know,
damn
in
it.
the interest of time, in the interest of my time and how it really works, I do want you guys to know that a lot of my playlist was listening to 80s, 90s, 2000s, and 2010s wrestling theme songs in preparation for an episode coming up here at a later date.
Good. Well, I appreciate that.
So multitasking in that world a little bit. We've been doing, I've been doing a lot of work on the podcast recently too, and putting time aside to take care of the things we're covering, and that's where my attention goes. So I do my best to
We
do
do
that,
and watch
Listen.
X-Men.
Listen,
I want to know how you do it. I was thinking about that on the way up because they're going to give me some shit about something, probably for Left 4 Dead, because they're going to be like, well, no, Mac, this is a game you actually played. Fuck you guys. But I was like, I want to talk to Jeff and Herb and find out how they have all this free time.
I just fucking make it.
I don't know how.
I come home from work.
Yeah.
I have other things I got to do, whether it's
Yeah.
go to my dad's or go here, go grocery shopping, and then I sit. Mac, I don't know. I don't know.
Please tell me, Mac. Please go, Mac, I don't know if you sit.
I don't know if you know if free time came and sat on your fucking lap, if you would know what to do with it. I don't think you know. I think you are so, and that's okay. Look, if that's how you vibe, there's literally nothing wrong with that, and that's a good thing. If that's how you keep mentally stable and healthy, it's more important to you to be active constantly like a goddamn shark Nothin Good. Because some people, that's how they operate. And there's literally nothing wrong with that. I think that's a very healthy thing. Some of us value free time and being able to just sit and like just discharge from reality. But you, for reasons, like to never have free time. And if you find free time, you fill it with bullshit.
I see you saying this, Jones, and I just hear Stephanie's words coming out of your mouth as well.
Oh, she says the same thing?
Oh, she gets so mad
Mac,
how I feel.
Downtime is important.
To do. And I'm
Yeah,
I question, like, it's fucking reverse Uno, motherfucker. I sit sometimes going, how the fuck does Dave literally find time to do anything? Because he's always going fucking somewhere. Like, I look, I'm not a big Facebook guy, but you like your Facebook sometimes, and you be posting shit like, I'm here, and I'm there. I'm like, what? Why? Why would you even go there? It's fucking Tuesday.
It's true. It's true.
Like, I'm at the fucking floral show. Like, oh, that's nice, I guess. But you could just be chilling, resting. Like, I love to rest now. Resting is so fucking important because one day that's all you're ever gonna fucking do, and it's gonna suck. But I want to rest when I want to rest. I want to just chill. I want to just watch TV, hang out with my wife, binge a TV show. We don't do it all the time. We don't get time to do it all the time. But I like to fucking get it in there sometimes. But to answer your question, how do I find time? One, I have no children. Helps. You should really be directing this question to him. I have no children.
Oh, it's to the table.
Okay, I have no children, and I like to believe that I like to be selfish. I love being selfish. Selfish.
And
is
see,
the way to
that's
go.
something for me that I don't do.
All right, there you go. Being selfish. You only get today once. Like I've been a big proponent of that very notion most of my adult life. You get today once. You don't get to do it over again. So be fucking selfish. Because, motherfucker, are those people going to be selfish for you? Probably not. And if they're not going to be, fuck that. Like, my wife, who we all know very well, obviously, like, we are very different. We have very different interests. We have almost no similar interests. Like, the interests that we do kind of connect on, we've found over the years, you know, like little things, like little TV shows or little hobbies here and there. Like, but, like, ultimately, we don't have a lot of common interests. So it's helpful for me in that regard because when it's like, oh, I want to watch a thing and she's like, has no interest, I'm like, all right, well, I'm going to watch it. Like, I'm going to take the TV over and watch what I want to fucking watch. Okay, but it goes both ways. If she's like, I really want to watch this thing, I'm not going to tell her, fuck off. No, you can't. Like, oh, fuck it. I'll get on my phone. I'll just chill on the couch and just do my fucking thing. We don't have to be vibing at the same frequency all the time. But, like, selfishness is super fucking important. So for you, and I think that's ultimately what it boils down to is you, and we've sort of in a weird way talked about this before, not like with these explicit words, but yeah, motherfucker, you should be selfish for yourself. Selfish for yourself. Ha! Selfish. More than you are.
Maybe I am selfish, but just in different ways. Maybe that's why I'm out doing things all the time. I don't want to know
who you're like beating up in the middle
Maybe
of the night.
I just like to, go and do a lot of things. I like to be out of the house. I like to
And that's what I
be
said
up
for.
and around.
If that is how you vibe, good. I don't understand it. It is not for me to understand, though.
Like you said, man, sharks can't stay in place. They can't be static.
No.
Got to keep swimming.
You saying you're a shark, Dave?
I think we know I'm a shark.
Oh, shit.
What kind of shark?
A gummy shark.
Oh, okay.
Do.
So to answer your question on how do you find time, like now that my kids are older and fairly self-sufficient, it's easier to find the time. It's important. Like me and Melissa, we have a lot of the same interests. So like talking about this game today, like we played this game together when it came out. We played this game together yesterday for hours. We watch X-Men 97 together. But then there's also like there's the things that are not common, the things that we don't necessarily like the same things. We're still together. Like we'll be on the couch and she'll be doing her thing and I'll be doing my thing. And maybe the kids are watching something on TV. So we're all doing our own thing, but we're all still like vibing in the same space.
It's one of my favorite things is I love that. When Allie and I are like literally in the same room, in the same social space, completely separate from each other, but still enjoying each other's company. I could be literally I could be playing a fucking video game. I could be working on my aquarium in the living room. And she could be watching TV or working on something or doing a little fucking, what's that shit called? Resin shit that she likes to work on. Just fucking whatever. And it's nice.
Yeah.
Because we don't have to be like,
it's about finding the balance.
Balance is a key, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
But find some time to watch X-Men.
Please
97.
do. Jesus Christ.
And I just had this conversation recently with a coworker because we were talking about this show, and they were like, "Man, I wish they all came out at the same time." And I was like, "We're so inundated with content these days. Like, yes, there's certain shows that it's cool to just binge it all the way through, and you want to watch the next thing. But with this particular show, I think it's super important that there's
I cannot wait to see the next episode.
Gap in between, because it gives you time to process, it gives you time to think, and it's like, holy shit, what's gonna happen? Like,
and I'm sad there's only 2 episodes left.
Yeah,
I really want there to be more episodes. The only critique I have for the show.
Yeah, it's so good.
Now, I'm usually pretty good where that's concerned in terms of not binging things. I was just kind of saying that as my excuse.
Yeah.
As we typically go, hey, Mac, are you watching X-Men 97? Sure. But it was more along the lines of, yeah, you know what, I'll give them the binge excuse in this one. Yeah, at this point, guys, I'm just kind of waiting for the last
couple of episodes. Out.
No, I'm not a binge kind of guy, because I'm the same way that you are, Jeff. I like to have some time to digest things when I
certain things I don't mind
binging.
A lot of the Marvel shows, I don't mind binging those.
Yeah, those are a little easier.
Yeah, but like the live action shows. But this particular show, I think it's very smart to watch it with a gap in between.
Okay, so this is what we're going to do. How about this? What we'll do, because apparently this is the only fucking way this is going to happen, is if we make it a part of the goddamn show. The only way he's going to watch it.
Still doesn't mean it's going to
No, he kind of fucking has to. He'll come down mysteriously with a fucking cough and he won't be on the episode. How about we just, after this first season's over, because it fits because it's X-Men 97, so we can talk about it on the show, I think. Let's wait a week or so after the series is over. We'll make it an episode. We'll just cover the whole first season. There's only 8 episodes, so it won't be something that's, like 22 episodes we're trying to fit in like an hour and a half. But that way, we get to talk about it on the show with everybody. And then that way, Dave is fucking forced to actually enjoy good content. That's the fucked up part. Enjoy good content.
It's so good.
I look forward to it.
No, you don't.
I do.
You know what's gonna happen? The night before, I'll go on my Xbox. It'll just say, Mac Attack Disney Plus for like 6 straight hours.
I'll probably be watching Captain America: Winter Soldier
Fucking
again.
Winter Soldier. Fuck that movie.
You're watching that and Moana back to back.
Hey, Moana 2's coming out soon. I got to get caught up.
So anyhow, what are you guys drinking today? Back on track. Like an hour later.
53 minutes in.
Yeah. I'm drinking some Smithwick's Red Ale. So getting some. This is kind of like how Popeyes has spinach. This is how Irish people refuel after they expound a whole bunch of energy. So yeah.
So it's a nice recovery beer for you.
It's a nice recovery beer for me. Absolutely.
Good. It's morning and I'm drinking coffee in Kahlua. So.
All right.
I'll get into the beer after this, but
I'll respect that.
There's very little left because we've been talking a long time.
We have.
That's the beauty of the show is it's
about
organic.
not what the show's about. I don't even think the audience knows what the show's about aside from the description.
Unless they look at the fucking title, they don't know what the fuck we're talking about.
Let's go ahead and put a pin in this, guys, and then have another episode of actually what the topic is.
This episode's just going to be called Fandom.
Yeah.
A Nothin Good story.
Cautionary tale.
Yeah.
Cautionary tale.
Cautionary. I like that. At least one episode, I bumped the fucking mic, and that was my first time today. I'm drinking a 3 Floyds Zombie Dust Undead Pale Ale, 6.5%. In honor of the episode we're covering, the topic that we're covering, the fucking epic, the legendary, the famous, the Left 4 Dead for the Xbox 360 and PC.
Hey, Jones.
Yeah.
I played that.
Yes, you did. Thank God.
I did.
Yeah.
Not just casually playing it, like most times that we're talking about video games and everything. I really played this one.
So I have a very serious question.
Yeah.
If Jones was not living with you at this time, would you have played it?
No. You know, he wouldn't have, that fucking 360 would still be in the box.
Still be in the box. Yeah. That fucking photo you have of me,
I
Jones,
swear to
hooking it
God.
up, man.
It was a moment in time that was as uncomfortable for me as it was for you. It was moderately stressful.
It was.
It should have never come to that, but it fucking came to it. Oh my God. Anyhow. So yeah, Left 4 Dead, man. It came out, 2008?
Yep. November 18th, 2008.
So the funny thing about this particular topic is I don't have many memories of like kind of when I got it. I'm sure I got it up around release. I'm sure of it. But I don't remember much about my experiences solo because all my memories are about playing it co-op. Like,
Yeah.
I know I
As
played
it
it
should
solo
be. Yeah.
initially. Because eventually, so like myself, Mac, and our friend of the show, Aaron, we were all roommates at the time, and we all eventually bought the game independently. I don't know who got it first, if it was Aaron or myself. I feel like Aaron probably got it first. Then I got it, and then Mac got it, most likely, or any particular order. And it was a game that we played co-op. We all lived on the same floor, rooms right next to each other, basically. And it was such a vibe.
It was.
Yelling at each other from room to room.
Or in my case, just mostly me yelling.
Help, 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 help. Spinning in circles. I'd run into the room, and there's just like Mac's character spraying his fucking SMG, spinning in circles, screaming help. I'm like, Jesus Christ.
Look, the horde comes quick, man.
Listen, that we're going to talk about that. So, Jeff, where were you at on this? Did you get it upon release, or?
No. So when we said we were going to play this, I was like, oh, I'm going to, I'm going to pull it out of my game pile over there and dust off the cobwebs off of it and pull it out. So I did. I have it here. Look at this in all its glory.
Yeah, all its glory, man.
Xbox Live.
So
Rated
like,
M for mature.
I was like,
It was.
I don't remember when I bought this until the receipt fell out.
Oh, shit.
oh, man.
When did you get that? That's a really well-kept receipt.
Yeah.
That's
So
a
I
really
bought
well-kept
that.
receipt.
So I bought this at Best Buy on February 7th of 2009 at 9:30 a.m.
We never played with you
Early
in
as
that game,
shit.
Jeff.
Yeah.
That's interesting. We never played that game with Jeff. It was always the three of us. We never added a fourth.
The also interesting thing about this is the book, because there was a time, and kids in today's generation don't know this, but the book was like an actual book where it tells you about the story
Yes.
and all the directions
I
and
remember that.
all the playable characters and
There
like
she is, the
the whole
All the bad
fucking
guys?
witch. Yeah. How to play the game, how to navigate the menus, all the game types, all the fucking credits of all the dudes who worked on it at Valve.
Yeah.
Like, it's crazy. Video games have changed a lot.
That's a
But
nice-
it was interesting because I was like, oh, I'll just grab it on Game Pass or download it from the Xbox store. Because why would I put a physical disc in my system? I never do that. And it's not available today.
So what you're saying to me, Jeff, is that in a day and age where everything is supposed to be accessible to you at all points in time, everywhere, always, this wasn't. And if you didn't own a physical copy of this, you would be up a creek without a paddle.
You
That's
could
what
say
long
that.
plays are
And,
for.
and you're saying that your overall experience in gaming was benefited by having a physical copy of something.
Yeah. But
Okay.
if it wasn't available and I still had a physical copy, so
That's what I mean.
was still able to play it.
Yeah, having the physical copy here saved
But if
the day.
I didn't, I still have it up here
I know, but it's just
because
not.
I experienced it before.
One day, Dave and I are going to
not
get
the
into a
first time
fist
I
fight
played
over
it.
this topic. Because I feel like I don't think you're wrong, because you're definitely not wrong at
Right.
all.
Yeah.
But I don't think it's that big of a deal.
No, you know what? It's more of a nostalgia piece for me. I've always appreciated the physical copy of a movie or video game or even a CD. Like something as simple as a song or music. Number one, when you buy a CD, it's the tangible experience. It's having the case. It's looking at the album art. It's opening up the flap and seeing the lyrics.
Opening up a flap.
Just
I'm sorry.
spread
Go
the
ahead.
flap wide
Spread
open.
that flap wide
Yeah,
open.
that did it for me.
Just find the sweet spot right there in the middle of that flap.
Yep.
But, being able to, read the lyrics as you're listening to the song, seeing the names, like you said, seeing the names of the people who helped make this thing, having the physical disc, having to fucking listen to an entire album, from start to finish, finding, the three songs the three songs you like you didn't know, and then in the case of Jones and the Killers, the 7 songs that you just didn't need.
So this album was messy as hell.
Yeah. But
available in the archives.
Yeah.
Available in the archives.
Unfortunately.
But I just preferred the experience of that. And I feel like as we get a little further and further away from that, not saying that the experience now is worse, I just think it's different. And I just think that my nostalgia, more than anything for that, I'm not really a very nostalgic person necessarily, but I am for those types of things. And, people that give me a lot of shit for wanting to still own physical copies of movies or video games or things like that aside, that's just something that I appreciate, that experience that I had as a child, how the industry grew and evolved and everything that went into it. And I just kind of like that.
Yeah, I used to be that way pretty hard. And I, just recently, my wife was just like, "Yo, you gotta we gotta do something with all these fucking movies we have. Like, we're not touching them. They're just collecting dust on the rack." And I'm like, "Yeah, I know, but they're there." She goes, "Are you gonna watch any of these?" I'm like, "No." She goes, "Then put them in a fucking box at least." I'm like, yeah, now I'll put them in a box. And honestly, I'm never gonna touch those fucking movies ever again, unless it's like a particular subject or topic we might cover that, let me pull out The Breakfast Club. I can watch that. But realistically, it does just take up space. I'm not I think there's importance to physical copies of things, of course. I mean, there's certain things that mean something to you, but not everything's going to mean something to you. That's kind of how I look at it.
Yeah.
Originally, when I was trying to fight her on it, I'm like, well, how about I keep this movie, this game, and this game? She goes, I mean, okay, but are you going to touch any of them? I'm like, I might. And she goes, but you're not. And I'm like,
deep down you're not. Yeah.
Now they're in these giant fucking Tupperware boxes that are going to go in the storage down in the basement. And I'm not even, at first I was mourning it a little bit because that space just have all my movies there. But again, it was literally just there to be there. It reminded me of shit that I'm never going to touch again. So I feel like I've ripped the fucking Band-Aid off. I feel better about it.
Yeah.
But speaking of ripping Band-Aids off, let's get down to ripping the Band-Aid off this fucking topic for sure.
1 hour later.
Left 4 Dead is a really cool concept. It's a really fun game. There's a lot of things about it that I think were trend-setting, at the time. And mixing in that single-player narrative experience. Granted, it was sparse. It wasn't much of a story in the first one, but there was a bit of a story mixed up with the co-op multiplayer feel. Was at the time nothing else was touching that I can think of.
Yeah, there wasn't really anything else like it in terms of the gameplay experience, and there were a lot of things that it influenced moving forward after this game came out, but the way the co-op experience was designed, even with single player, it's still co-op because there's always 4 players no matter what. Hence the 4 in Left 4 Dead. The 4 survivors of, it's 2 weeks after the outbreak, and these 4 are immune for whatever reason. Yeah. And so you get dropped in. But the gameplay experience itself, it's very cinematic.
Yes.
So each of the 4 chapters of the story are basically laid out like a movie. It starts out with a movie poster and it ends with movie credits.
Yeah.
And so there's this,
and even in memoriam, depending on how it goes at the end, the final stage of your level.
Yeah. So there's an AI built into it called the director, and basically it analyzes what your gameplay experience is. So there's, no matter how many times you play through, it's different every time.
Yeah, it's going to be at least slightly.
Yeah. So the director decides when they're going to drop ammo, where they're going to drop health items, when and where the horde is going to appear, how big is the horde going to be based on how you're playing through, which is such a unique thing.
I didn't know, not to cut you off, but through a little bit of research I did on this topic, I knew about the director because everybody knew about the director. I didn't know there was a secondary director that just controlled the fucking music
Yep.
and the ambiance. I had no clue. I just that you don't think about that.
And how the music and ambiance, if you're playing co-op, was different for each person playing co-op. The things that you heard, the music you heard when you heard it, the way that it kind of played into your experience was different. So when you, me, and Aaron are playing at the same time, I'm hearing different things than you're hearing. Even though we're playing and experiencing the game at the same time, which I thought was really a fascinating part of the game. Again, nothing I actually realized until I kind of did my research on it. Yeah.
But yeah, the director concept was really cool, and they carried that over to Left 4 Dead 2, and the spiritual successor, Back 4 Blood, which I played pretty extensively when it first came out, and I really enjoyed it. It was a little too much, like having loot rarity. Was a little.
Yeah.
It was unnecessary. I think they overcomplicated the game, especially at launch. There were some issues with it I didn't like, and they patched a lot of things and adjusted some things, which was good. And I really did like it, but it just wasn't Left 4 Dead 1 or 2.
Yeah, and Jeff, you mentioned something about the aspect of this game being very cinematic, and I think it's really important when you talk about this game, you talk about that they designed these levels basically to be an individual zombie movie. And, one of the things that I particularly love about this game is that it's based in the zombie capital of the world, Pittsburgh. It's our home. They don't necessarily outwardly come out and say it in some cases, but, the levels are places in Pittsburgh, Mercy Hospital. Allegheny Forest is just, right outside of Pittsburgh. It's the Turnpike. It's the Pittsburgh Airport. And, they did a lot of things to even the way the airport level plays out. The parking garage is directly across from the terminal, which is how it is here, And I like the care that they took to, give that little homage to where the zombie genre came in. But this game's also influenced by the zombie films that were coming out at this point in time. 2008 saw the revitalization of the zombie genre. It saw 28 Days Later. It saw the remake of Dawn of the Dead. It saw Quarantine. And it took the premises of those movies and kind of wanted to put it into a playable version of this, where these aren't the undead. The dead didn't rise from the grave. These are people who are infected. Yep. And the infection has amplified different parts of their being that have turned them into ravenous creatures, similar to like if an animal gets rabies, it alters their behaviors and everything like that. And, the fast fucking zombies, man. In the world,
they're weak as shit, but they are fast.
In the world of like how you change cinema on its head, taking slow zombies and making them fast zombies was a total fucking game changer. And it changed how it influenced how this game gets played.
I have a crazy question. It's in line with this, but it's a little bit of a sidebar, but I think it's a good question to ask. We're all Pittsburgh people, even transplants like you, Jeff.
You've lived here longer than you haven't lived here.
Yeah.
Correct.
So, you may not have been born in Pittsburgh, but you are a Pittsburgher.
There are fewer zombies in Ohio.
Yeah. Thank God for that.
Maybe not outside of Warren, but
yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
But with the legacy that the zombie genre has in this city and how proud people are of that here, everybody in Pittsburgh, after a certain age and a certain generation, has an opinion on this. So I like to pose this question from time to time at dinner parties. What side of the fence do you land on? On the zombie outbreak via some sort of biological change or something, or the dead walk the earth? Hell is full. Which one do you guys dig on the most? What vibes with you more?
That's a great question, because you and I have had conversations. Hell, you wrote a screenplay that is yet to be produced.
Unearthed, coming TBA.
Yeah. I have an affection for the undead rising from the grave. Maybe not necessarily that that's because I'm from here and that's kind of how it's been. I think it's more along the lines of growing up as a cinemaphile. The zombies.
He is on the list, ladies and gentlemen. We vetted him already.
Yeah, I have to announce myself every time I drive by the elementary school by Jeff's house. Just passing through, guys. I don't have any candy. Don't worry. Or do I?
Okay.
Look, Reese's peanut butter cups travel. Anyway, so the movies that I got as a young man and into today, it's the virus. You know, of course, it feeds into The Walking Dead and how that just took over the genre. But I think I'm more partial to the undead. That hell is full and there's nowhere for them to go, so that the dead rise from the grave to roam the earth. So I'm gonna go with that one.
Jeff?
No one's ever asked me this question before.
Asking the serious questions on Nothin Good.
Hitting them hard. I don't know. I think that I love the concept of the actual undead. I don't think it's particularly been executed well in film. And Outbreak is so much easier to do, which is why I think so many movies and TV shows skew in that direction. There's just something like, there's this visual in my head of like the hand coming up out of the ground, where it's just like, that's spooky as shit. But I think from a cinema standpoint, probably The Outbreak, because it's what we're most used to.
Okay, I dig that.
How about you, Jones?
Well, I will answer. I lean 110% to the idea that the dead walk, because there's something very terrifying about, like, one of the worst emotions or feelings a human being can probably have is uncertainty, right? Like, it's uncertainty, and you don't know up from down, left from right. If there is a science-based solution, even if there's no cure, you understand it's of the world. You can wrap your head around the idea that, okay, well, we're still fucked, but I understand why we are. If dead just started popping out of fucking coffins and just rising and attacking people, and if you died, it's not because you're infected with shit, your soul went nowhere. And your ass got right fucking back up, hungry for flesh. There's a fear inherently with things that we don't understand. We hate what we don't understand. We can't wrap our heads around the idea of God or the devil or whatever you believe in, regardless if you believe in it or not, right? The thing that makes it scary, not just the fact that it's the undead rising from the grave, but that it would then, best way to word this, it would reveal to the world that there's something beyond our natural world that we don't understand. There are billions of probably people who don't believe in anything after death. Those people will be very fucking wrong. That's scary. Because once that's revealed to the world, what else don't you understand? Right? That's what I like about it. Because it adds a layer to, like, reality. It's not just because, they're zombies and they're flesh-eating creatures.
Yeah.
It's that, oh shit, there's something after death. What the fuck? Now what do we have? What else is real? You know, is there really a God? Is there really a Satan? Is there really a devil? Is there really whatever it is? Like, that I think is terrifying. So I lean towards there's a story that I'd worked on some time ago, and I'm sure I told each of you about it, called Grimm. I told you about Grimm? I know I told you. About, like, the Grim Reaper kind of, like, saying, fuck it, I'm not doing this anymore. And that's how the zombie outbreak happens. And he's, like, the protagonist. It's, like, a whole thing. But, like, I like the idea, like, if the Angel of Death decided that the Angel of Death did not want to do it anymore, where would those souls go? Right back here. That's scary shit. That's scary to me. Yeah.
It's also telling of how poorly built coffins were at one point in time, that the dead would be able to get out of it and up through the ground.
I look at it more just tenacity. I mean, I think like the zombie outbreak may have happened 100 years ago, but they were all just well trapped, and it just took them that long
how
to
do
dig
they
their way out.
how do they get out? Are they like in Kill Bill where she just keeps punching
Fucking 1-inch punch. Maybe.
Because today's coffins are pretty well constructed.
They are.
Wait. Maybe that's why. Maybe that is why they are. Because 100 years ago...
Let's keep them down there.
100 years ago, some shit happened. And it was a big fucking, push by the by world governments.
I mean, what if, the influenza of 1919 wasn't an influenza?
So fucking the dead rose.
Yeah.
And they keep rising, but they ain't rising anymore. We keep their asses down there.
Yeah.
Think about it, folks.
Well, hopefully we'll be back next week if we don't get shut down by the government. The Left 4 Dead, man.
Yeah.
So, one thing I forgot about this game until I was doing research is that there's a versus mode when you're playing online co-op, whereas you basically take turns being a survivor or being infected. And I don't even remember that being a thing.
I don't think we ever played it.
No, we definitely didn't.
Yeah.
No.
And I was like,
Was that patched in?
I don't remember.
I think that might have been patched in, maybe not? No, it wouldn't have, no, because, it was on your 360 you were playing it on, so the save files would still be there. I feel like it didn't launch with that, though.
I don't know.
Because it got a lot of DLC.
There was some DLC that came out shortly after.
I don't know.
But I don't think I ever played that.
There was no
mode.
need.
I only think the only mode of the game I played was the co-op mode.
Yeah.
I don't think we ever played. I don't think I've ever played it solo.
I definitely tried.
And and it was. I mean, for me, it was just more fun just playing with you guys. The game creates anxiety.
Oh yeah.
As we've said multiple times before, everybody, the game is very cinematic. You're playing basically a movie. That's kind of how the gameplay really lays out if you look at it. But the lighting fucks with you. The audio fucks with you. The audio, like a good horror movie, like a good zombie movie would, the audio cues you. I mean, none more so than when you're getting close to the witch. Or when the horde starts coming. You just hear the...
That's my favorite specialty infected is the witch. Just like the crying. And you're like, God damn it, don't get any closer.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Yeah, it's like a little kid crying.
Yeah. Well, let's talk real quick here, everybody, and just kind of set the stage for you about what this game kind of... Like the structure of the game before we kind of get in really more of the gameplay and our experiences and things like that. But as we mentioned, there are 4 levels that you get typically. Each level has 5 stages. And you basically have to fight your way through to get to safe houses, which then progresses you to the next part. The goal is to stay together, survive, and then escape. And at the end of each stage, there's basically an escape. It's an escape stage, but the whole fucking game comes at you while you're trying to escape. You have to outlast the zombie horde until your helicopter, your airplane, or your boat, or whatever comes to pick you up and take you out. Now, the game has zombies, infected. They're not really zombies because they're not dead.
Yeah,
they're people that are infected, and more like Contagion in that kind of case. But there are 5...
There's an X-Men 97 parallel there, but I can't say what it is.
That's fine. You guys can just, being in the know can make you feel superior in that way. So.
If you know, you know.
But there are
If you're dead, you don't.
There are 5 types of altered infected that you encounter during the game. You've got your boomers. Your boomers are rotund characters that will effectively vomit bile on you, which will attract zombies to you. You've got the smokers. The smokers will leave a cloud of dust. Smokers also have a very long tongue that will lash out at you from across the courtyard, if you will. You've got the tanks. The tanks are exactly what you think they are. Out of Resident Evil, they're the gigantic, over-muscular things that throw concrete at you. You've got the hunters. The hunters are quick, agile. They will climb in walls, kind of like Spider-Man a little bit.
Yeah, one of the coolest things is like when you're on a street, for example, and it's hard to see because of the lighting and the ambiance, but all you see is like the silhouette of the hunter jumping on the rooftops.
Yeah.
You're like,
God
shit.
damn it.
And then finally, you have the witch.
Such a creative concept.
Now, the witch is essentially a zombie from Dante's seventh level of hell. It's a combination of Wolverine and Linda Blair from The Exorcist. The witch is
That's a really good description.
It is, thank you. The witch is a maniacal demon hellscape, vicious life-sucking bitch from which there is no escape.
It did not say that in the book.
No.
But it should have.
It should have.
It should have. The witch is the scariest fucking character in this game.
The absolute scariest.
Very hard to kill. Usually requires a lot of help.
Well, if you startle the witch, like, you're dead.
Yeah. So the idea is that as you go through these levels, you encounter the characters, and basically in every level there is a witch. And as Herb had said, the witch is crying like a lost little girl. That's how it attracts you, because your instinct is to, oh, somebody's alive. We need to go. It's luring you into a trap. Can't startle it. You can avoid the witch in every level. Yep. You don't need to go near. Don't shine a light on it. Do not shine a light on the witch. But if you do, hold on to your fucking hat.
Yeah. As Jeff said, you're probably dead.
Yeah.
The witch was like, it's cool about this game is like the game itself, gameplay wise, is fine. It's fun. It's enjoyable. It's just the audio is so well done.
The sound design is fantastic
in this game, because every specialty infected has their audio cue. Like like you could hear them in the distance. Like, all right, get ready. I know it's coming.
Yeah,
it comes
like
lumbering at you.
where the hell are they?
Or the like goddamn smoker. But the crying is so well done, because even though the part of you who's a gamer wants to get close.
Yep.
Like, how close can I get to this motherfucker without getting got? Mm-hmm. You can't get close.
Yeah.
And she will, upon noticing you, will shrill this violent, blood-curdling noise and attack you with her fucking claws and mutilate you in front of your friends as they're shooting her, pumping all their bullets into her.
Yeah, and all you can do is hope that because at that point, like, you can melee when you're on the ground with your handgun, but it's not enough to take down the witch. So you have to rely on your teammates to take the witch out and then revive you. If they don't in time, you're screwed. And the unfortunate part is when you're not playing full 4-player co-op.
Oh, the bots suck.
The AI controls the other
the other non-players. Yeah,
and
character.
They're not that fast.
They're not. Their aim is terrible. They get in your way when you're trying to shoot. Like, if you hunker down somewhere, they will just step right in front of you and take a bullet to the back of their head. And they're like, "Hey, why are you shooting me?"
You guys probably already read this. There was, I guess, another infected called the Screamer.
The Screamer.
That I guess was supposed to be like, he would see you and then go to a safe space and scream, and a horde would come at you. And I guess they just took that kind of mechanic and put it on the Boomer.
Yeah.
Which I thought was pretty interesting.
Yeah, I thought that was pretty cool. That would have been really, like, because if you played it that way, if that character was in, you would be forced to have to shoot the Screamer before it gets to its point. I can only imagine what that scream sounded like.
I don't want to find out.
Yeah. I think that'd be kind of cool. But yeah, you got to avoid the horde. And there are certain points in the game where you have to trigger the horde, because there's something you have to do on a level where you need to activate a crane, or you have to go ahead and activate an elevator, or
something that makes noise.
Something that's going to make noise. And they even say too, like, hey, be careful if you don't fucking hit cars.
Oh yeah.
Cars have security alarms and they'll go off, and that's going to attract some shit.
The best, probably one of the best things about this game, in terms of just the social, like, interactions with other players, is you imagine how the game would play if, like, he says, oh yeah, there's a car, don't bump the car, don't interact with the car, and someone does, but the ability to know who did it, it's just gone. Like, who did it? Well, it wasn't me. It wasn't me. No, it wasn't me. Well, it could have been. It was fucking one of you. Or was it you? But the game straight up tattles on motherfuckers.
Yeah.
Like, Jeff has awoken the horde.
Yeah.
God damn it, Jeff.
Yeah. Dave startled the witch.
Oh, it's usually Dave startling the witch. Yeah. They definitely try to see how close I can get before
I who to, like, shit on about that, which I loved.
Yeah. And then, like, the Boomer, for example, like, it's like, oh, Herb's been thrown up on. And then, like, your gamer display turns yellow.
Yep.
So you know where everybody is. And so the horde starts coming. So you're like, let's just back away from Herb right now.
And when the horde shows up, they show up.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
it's
they
no
don't
joke.
they don't fuck around.
And I like this game because, like, when that stuff happens, right? So let's go ahead and say that situation happened. Jones got fucked up. The character is not dead, but if you have a med pack, you can administer that to your character, to the other character, to give them more health. When your character does die, you still get to live the game, but you're watching it through the perspectives of the other characters that are still there until they find you, because you typically are going to be in a safe space or something, and you kind of respawn
In
somewhere.
a random closet.
You have to wait until a closet or an office or something like that, and they gotta pull you out before you can go ahead and play again. So, the playability of this game is fantastic because it doesn't have cutscenes. You get that first thing at the beginning of the game where the 2 weeks later, and you kind of get introduced to the characters, you see what's going on. It's a neat little way that they also introduce you to the various different zombies that you encounter. But that's it. Like, once you get into the game, they consciously made the decision that we're not going to tell you the story. We're going to let you just tell the story and let you discover what's going on.
Yeah. Yeah, that opening video is like, you hear the crying, and she's like, oh, there's a survivor in there, and then they go in there and they startle the witch.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, this is how this game's going to go.
Just got the red eyes, man.
Did you guys play Left 4 Dead 2?
Yes.
A little bit.
I did. And it was way better than the first one, but the first one still had a thing. Like, I think it was just the memories of the three of us playing it that, like, really. I have more fond memories of the first one than the second one. The second one is actually a better game across the board.
Yeah, my favorite Left 4 Dead experience is playing the amusement park in Left 4 Dead 2. Like, that level is so fucking amazingly done. Because I was like, which levels are in which game? Like, I couldn't remember until I went back in and played it. Because, like, in this particular game, like we said, there's 4 levels. There's the city with the hospital. There's the country town, and then there's the airport and the construction site in the airport, and then like the Allegheny Forest and like the farmhouse or whatever where they do their final escape. In the second game, it's like the Mall of America,
Yeah.
and an amusement park, and then like a city and shit. But so in Left 4 Dead 1, there were four playable characters. There was Lewis, who's the businessman. Bill, who's the grizzled war vet, Francis, who's the biker gang guy. And
You know how he was in a biker gang? Because he
of the
wore
vest.
a leather vest.
Oh, yeah.
That was a man who was hardened. He was a hardened loner.
And then we have Zoe, who's a college student. I was like, who voiced these? And most of them are no-name people, but Jen Taylor was the voice of Zoe. She's also the voice of Princess Peach and Daisy and Toad from pretty much all the Mario games.
That's pretty cool.
And she's the voice of Cortana in Halo.
Oh.
And she played Cortana in the live-action Halo series.
That's pretty cool. I did not know that.
Did you guys have a character that you liked to play as? Or did it really not matter for you?
I don't think it mattered. I don't remember it mattering.
There was one of the things they could have done with the game, which they didn't, but they could have had some characters have certain limitations based on who the character was, like strengths and weaknesses.
Yeah, there
kind
really
of a
was
thing.
no difference in gameplay, depending on who you picked. I played as Lewis when we played through a couple of the campaigns yesterday. The character I remember most is Coach from Left 4 Dead 2.
Yeah. I like Coach.
Yeah, but I don't think there's really... It has no impact on the actual gameplay.
Right.
And it's almost like they set it up where it doesn't matter who you pick. You get all your weapons up front. It's not like in current games where you're collecting weapons along the way, although there's like simple upgrades that you get. But it's not like, oh, I start like Resident Evil. I start with a knife and then I get a handgun and then, there's 10 more weapons after that. It's not like that. It's just you get everything you need up front. Just don't die.
If you think about like just structurally,
It's just straight up survival game.
This
That's
game
it.
is like about as basic as it gets.
Yeah.
Get from point A to point B. Try not to die the whole way. That's it.
Yeah. And then there was survival mode, which was in one of the DLC packs, I believe, where it was basically they just start the timer and just don't die.
Yeah.
Don't die.
Last as long as you can. There's no actual story. It's just don't die. It's like playing horde mode in Gears of War, where they just keep coming, like nonstop.
Or I think one of the first games that ever did that, if you remember going way back, were the Lord of the Rings games. Do you remember for like the GameCube, and like they had these stages, and Aaron Steinberg and I got real into this for a while, where like once you beat the game, there was a melee mode that you got to play where each stage would have different characters coming at you. You just have to see how long you could go and survive, and if you killed enough of them, you got to advance to the next level. And every level, you'd have different orcs, trolls, ring race, like more and more shit would keep coming at you until you just couldn't get past it. I always thought that was kind of cool. Talk about two games that probably would benefit from a upgrade and a re-release of those two Lord of the Rings games, Two Towers and Return of the King.
Never played those. Never played those.
So those games were really, really good.
Probably better than they needed to be.
Way better than they needed to be. I'm not just saying that as a ringer. I'm just saying that as like, these are legitimately...
You call yourself a ringer?
Yeah, that's what we call ourselves.
No shit, I didn't know
Shit,
that.
yeah.
They're like
Never heard
Swifties
that
and there's
before.
ringers.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, let's...
And if there's not, I'm gonna fucking...
It is now? It's a
Copyright.
thing
It's
now.
a thing now, yeah.
And if so, that would make you Lord of the Ringers.
Oh, shit.
That was my dick hitting the table. I don't know if you guys heard that or not.
I heard it.
Went from 6 to midnight real quick. I'm gonna play ring toss on my cock later when I go home.
All right, enough of that.
That's great.
That's... Now we're crossing lines
You're
here,
welcome.
folks. Thank you, society.
when it gets around the tip and it just kind of like starts to like circle down and everything, I'm just gonna yell Vanagrift,
Shaking his
Thank
fist
you.
at the
and
sun.
then hopefully at that same time I've got like diodes attached to my nipples and Stephanie shocks me at the same time.
Dude, that's a fucking weird image. We're gonna just skip right over.
I'm gonna fucking level up like I'm in Dragon Ball Z.
Yeah.
My hair's gonna fucking shoot up in flames. Ah, I am Lord of the Ringers.
I apologize to the listeners, to whatever this has become.
There's gonna be one day we're gonna have a following of like maybe like 40 or 50,000 people, right? And we're gonna be at a convention someday, and there's gonna be somebody who's been listening to the podcast, and they're gonna be like, I had this image in my head of what Dave looked like. And when I saw him in person, it was not that.
Yeah, I never really thought about that. The people who've never met us, what they think we look like. Not that I particularly care, but it is interesting.
Yeah, it's an interesting concept.
Oh yeah, you absolutely form an image in your mind of people you listen to on the radio all the time. And most of the time you're nowhere close. So, yeah, I kind of hope that's the case, And like, man, when I was picturing like Dave leveling up with like a cock ring around himself, like just getting the power of the One Ring and electrodes and his hair shooting up like fucking Dragon Ball Z. Not that. It's like when you're in the schoolyard, you're like, not it. It's basically the telling short of that one. Did you guys have a favorite level playing this game? Was there one level that you liked more than others or that you enjoyed particularly?
It's the farm.
I hated the fucking farm.
I'd say the farm probably my favorite.
God, I hated the fucking farm.
Yeah, farm was good. It was difficult.
That's why I hated it. I fucking died all the time in the farm.
And playing through the woods in the beginning of that Blood Harvest campaign. I'd say that was probably mine too.
I gotta go with Mercy Hospital, man. No Mercy. I liked the aspect of traveling through the town and getting to the hospital, climbing up to the top of the roof. Zombies rarely fell off the roof, but and also I think too because like that level just kind of looked a little bit like Pittsburgh. They kind of had the mountains like Mount Washington and everything kind of there, and the way that the hospital's played and everything, it's kind of like it's in that part of town. I just really enjoyed that level. I didn't die as much in that one.
Yeah, like when you're going from rooftop to rooftop, there are like those small catwalks. And there were a number of times when we were playing yesterday where like fucking Francis and Bill would just fall. And then they're just like hanging there, and there's like a horde, and they're like, help me up. And I'm
nope.
I'm like, you're on your own right now, because I got to deal with this fucking boomer. There's a hunter jumping around over there. I ain't got time for this bullshit. You two are the worst.
The only thing that I would say, like, as far as criticism of the game, because there's very little to criticize, really, truly.
Yeah.
Yep.
Is that there was a very minimal story. not the end of the world, because it didn't need to have one, because your experience with your friends was the story, ultimately.
And I think that ultimately is why I enjoy the game so much, is just because of the experience. You know, us being in 3 separate rooms up on the floor at the estate, and just me screaming at the top of my lungs because I walked into some shit and I'm not... Listen, everybody, you're going to find this really hard to believe, but amongst our friends, I'm not the best gamer.
And you scare easy.
I do scare easy. I do. In video games, I scare easy in general. I do. Not in like real life.
Yeah,
but
you don't scare easy.
I don't scare easily in real life, but like when watching movies or watching video games, the jump scares will definitely fucking get me. I'm susceptible to the jump scare.
We're looking at you, Outlast.
Yeah. So, yeah, I would usually be the scout. I'd kind of go up ahead and then walk into the shit, and then Aaron and Herb would just come back in.
They call that the meat shield.
Yeah, definitely the meat shield.
Yeah, that's absolutely me, and I'm not gonna hide that. But yeah, in the research I did, Jones, talking to your point about the story, I think they had more story into this, but they made the decision when they're developing the game that like we don't want just everything to fucking stop for a cutscene. And you have to sit there and like lose the momentum of how they wanted the gameplay to go. So I think they actually made that conscious decision to take more of that out and allow you to like live the story the way that you were.
Yeah, that sounds about right. And I think that either decision would have been fine. But I think it was probably the better decision to let things flow a little freely. Just having that go from moment to moment and not lose that momentum. That frenetic energy that chaos. You just made it to the safe house. Jeez, how the fuck did you even make it? Like, you were just yelling at your roommate, get the fuck in here!
It's nothing worse than the panic of, like, how much further is this fucking safe house? And then, like, why is one person not in the safe house while another horde is coming? And
you see they're across the street. Like, why are you over there?
Yeah. Well, so when I was prepping for this, I played it a little bit, just like Jeff did. Did single player. I should have, and I kind of looking back on it, I was like, it's been much more fun if we all just would have hooked up and played. But like we did with GoldenEye and shit like that. But I got into the safe house first, and a fucking tank got in there, and I'm waiting for the other people to get there, and they're not getting there. And I'm just getting fucking mauled by a tank. And then we finally killed the tank, and then the door closed. I'm like, well, that's just something. Like, can you imagine being in your safe house, and there's a fucking, like, dead zombie? Just
the worst zombie.
The smell, man.
Oh, it can't smell good.
No.
No one ever talks about in these like zombie movies and zombie games how the fucking undead town has to reek.
Yeah.
Yes, it's just smell like undead ass.
Yeah, it's not pleasant.
There's
I would imagine.
There's just like undead gooch and taint.
Put that on a t-shirt.
Undead taint. That was like a metal band.
I like undead.
Or a name of a beer.
Or name
Oh,
of
man.
undead taint.
Oh, shit. The undead gooch.
I like that.
But it was a huge success.
Yep.
Yeah.
When the game came out, it sold 3 million copies in the first year. Fast-tracked Left 4 Dead 2, which came out the next year.
Yeah.
They must have been really banking on the success because after the last level, when they're leaving on the boat, they encounter the 4 survivors from Left 4 Dead 2. So they're like, we hope this works because we already got this one. Well, it's already halfway done.
They had to know they had a winner on their hands.
Yeah.
You know, Valve typically doesn't miss a whole lot for fucking reasons. Granted, they don't put out much, but they don't miss very much when they do put out content, put out games.
Yeah, especially now. I mean, they put all their chips in the Steam basket, and they're making billions of dollars as a result. So
I'll never get another Half-Life.
Yeah.
I'm never going to get Left 4 Dead 3. It's not going to fucking happen, and it makes me sad.
Yeah, so I think it was, what was I reading? Like 7 of the developers from Left 4 Dead were part of the team that made Back 4 Blood.
And you can tell. It's really true.
Yeah.
There are some times where like, oh, this game's a spiritual successor to this particular franchise. And then there's Back 4 Blood, which is basically Left 4 Dead 3. It really just is Left 4 Dead 3. Like I said, I played it I put several hours into it at launch over the course of like a month or so, me and some friends of mine. And we, again, it was fun. It was just some bits and pieces we didn't dig. And I just did not like the depth of it, which is weird. because I like RPG elements in my games, but not in this game.
That type
Yeah.
of game, yeah.
Like,
It doesn't necessarily fit.
I don't need weapon rarity. Like, I love that there's so many more weapons, and like the game was active. Did you play it? Mm-hmm. Yeah. So like, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
it was on Game Pass.
It's like, oh my God.
Still is.
Listen, Game Pass is a really good deal, folks.
You forgot to ask if I played it.
Because you didn't. Did you, Mac?
Sure.
So yeah, so
Lazy's consistent.
yeah, it was fucking free, you know. But like, they had like the little modifier cards and all that. It was too much for me to try to digest.
Yeah,
I
it
just want to
was
get
a lot.
dropped in and shoot some zombies. But the game was fun. It is fun.
Yeah.
It's interesting. Like me and like 3 of my old clanmates, like we played it a lot, really hard, and then like I kind of dropped off, and they just kept fucking. And I'd like go on Xbox, I'd see like they're playing on like the hardest difficulty. I'm like, man, fuck. I should have stopped playing.
Yeah.
Fucking Fireborns, you know who you are.
Yeah.
They don't listen to the show.
I was really hoping that Redfall was going to be more like Left 4 Dead. And
Ooh,
it
we gonna
was-
talk about that?
It was not
My-
anything like that. I immediately deleted that off of my fucking system.
Myself and friend of the show, or Aaron Steinberg and I, we played the game. Like, we were fired up. Like, this is gonna be fun, right?
So
It was at
hyped
Arcane
for that.
Studios, right?
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, well, this ought to be fun. Like, the trailers look good.
Yeah, it's like Left 4
Gameplay
Dead,
looked
but with
good.
vampires. It's
I'm
awesome.
like, you can't miss with this. Oh, they fucking missed.
On every level.
Aaron and I played the game one time together. We put in, like, I don't even know, like 4 or 5 hours. Really getting our feet wet. It was like, it was starting to kind of get a little fun. Like, I was starting to get used to, like, but, like, the thing was, the game itself, like, just wasn't engaged. Like, if you know how you play a brand new game, and you're fired up to play it, and
Yep.
you sit down, you play it, and when you're done with your play session, you're excited to play it again in another day, another week, or whatever, the weekend. Like, I'll have more time on Saturday afternoon, I'll be able to play. I turned the game off, and I just went,
Well, that was fun.
I don't know if I have to do that again. And like Aaron had messaged me like a few days later, like, hey man, you know, what are you thinking about digging into that again? I'm like, dude, I already uninstalled it. He's like, okay, I'm gonna do it too. Like I felt bad because I really wanted to like it.
Yeah.
It was just such a letdown.
It did not live up to the hype or the potential that it could have been.
No, it did not land.
Yeah, it was bad.
This is why Left 4 Dead is still just fucking undisputed fucking king. And yeah, again, even though Part 2 is better in pretty much every metric, every way you can measure it, it's just got a vibe, man. It's the first.
Everybody remembers their first.
Yeah, I think that's really why it stands so tall, because nothing had been done like it before on this level in this genre with this type of backdrop, and done it so well. So
you know what I need in my life?
to watch X-Men '97.
You know what else I need in my life?
Yeah, what's up?
So give me Left 4 Dead. Add in Arkham. Add in an Arkham level to the game.
Okay.
Arkham City. And instead of having 4, archetype zombie survivors, give me 4 Ninja Turtles.
I somehow knew you were going to say Ninja Turtles, because I would love to cut them in half. Like, just katanas and...
Just give me 4 Ninja Turtles and a 4-player co-op in the style of Arkham, like Left 4 Dead. And let's just go.
Are you fighting zombies or Foot Clan?
Probably the Foot Clan.
Like,
But
they
I mean,
can fight zombies, shit.
they can fight both. The kids fight zombie Foot Clan.
Have
Shit went real
the
fucking
Turtles
wrong.
ever fought zombies before? Because I have no clue.
I know they fought Batman. And right now they're fucking doing something with Stranger Things in the Upside Down.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I have to look into that, but I got it on my notes.
They're fucking AARP turtles now at this point.
I'm telling you, dude, like, I came across this, and I made a note, because I got to go back to look at it and try to figure this out. But there is a Stranger Things Ninja Turtles crossover that just, like, recently popped up. And I don't know why, but I want to know more.
Yeah, I know they've been doing like that for action figures. Like I was just at Target the other day and I saw a crossover of Stranger Things and Masters of the Universe, and it was like the packaging is sort of interesting because half of it's upside down, but
Yeah.
it was like Skeletor and then like a version of He-Man with the Demogorgon head.
Yeah, no, this is a
It
book.
was weird.
I'm down with that.
Yeah. So I don't know why I need it, but I'm all right with it. So, and they're the red bandana ninjas. They're not all with the different colors to sell more toys and try to make sure that everybody knows which one's which. So,
Word.
So I think it's easy to say, Left 4 Dead's a great game, but I think it's an iconic game. It is probably one of the greatest games that's ever been released ever. I don't know where it lands on top 100 games of all time.
It's on a lot of lists.
But if it's not in the top 25, I'd be impressed. It would have to be. I feel like it would have to be in my top 25 greatest games I've ever played.
yeah, there's almost nothing wrong with it.
Very little.
Even playing it when it came out, it wasn't buggy.
Nope.
No, it was a smooth gameplay. It was fun. And the replayability of the game is one of the things that I liked most, right? Playing, because we played this game a lot. I'd say of all the games at the estate that we played, this was probably number 2.
Easily number 2.
And we logged a lot of hours doing this, but it was just a lot of fun to do it because you never got the same experience, even though you kind of did. But it just gave you that little something extra.
Yeah, I'm glad that we had a chance that this game existed in a time where we could play it and enjoy it. It's not something we're looking back on like, oh, I wish I could have played that when it first came out. Like, nah, motherfucker, we were there. Were you there? You weren't there. We were there.
We were there.
And if you have it at home, take Dave's advice. Take the dust off your fucking 360. Pop the disc in and give it a run. You might still enjoy it. Or just play Back 4 Blood, because honestly, it's a really good game, too. Just not Redfall.
Don't play that.
Fuck that game.
Avoid that.
Don't do that.
Arkham Asylum. Well, you motherfuckers know you're better than that.
Listen, when you guys were talking about Redfall, the first thing I thought of was it was a game about menstrual cycles.
No. No.
I don't really have much of a
vampires.
transition for that,
Yeah.
so
Oh, okay. Sorry about that. I mean to.
we'll just cycle on
Didn't
to
mean
something
to,
else.
didn't mean to just hit the brakes on that one and grind
just-
us to a halt. But
Put the emergency, you
You
just
know.
pull that fucker back.
just thought it was interesting that vampires would have, that kind of a milk mustache.
God damn it, dude. So anyways, Left 4 Dead.
Yeah.
Awesome game. Go play it. Give it some love.
Please, yeah.
And if for any reason you're responsible for these types of things and you're listening to this podcast, fucking make this shit available so people can download it. Put it out in the systems. Put it out on the Microsoft Store. Put it in PlayStation. Let people download this shit for free and let them play it.
It never came out for PlayStation, right?
Nope.
It's
No,
an
it didn't.
Xbox and PC exclusive.
Yeah. But I'm saying, give them the chance too. Expand your audience.
Agreed.
Yeah.
So, here's the big question then, folks. What are we covering next week on our wonderful show, Nothin Good?
So next week is a wrestling episode.
Some wrestling.
Here's an idea.
Yeah.
Maybe instead of covering a wrestling show, we should talk about wrestling theme songs.
Whoa, 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 whoa.
Whoa.
Are you saying talk about the musicality of wrestling?
Yeah.
Did you... Musicality? Is that
Yeah.
a word?
It is now.
That's something the Lord of the Ringer would say.
It would.
Okay, all right. Dave was shaking his hips in the chair. I'm
Yeah,
not
he was
ready
doing
for
the
it.
ring toss thing.
I was doing the
again.
ring toss
Okay,
thing.
that's what that
Yeah.
That's going to be a thing now. Great.
I might have to alter the intro for next week.
So, yeah, I guess we're going to talk about our favorite entrance themes and the importance of them in wrestling history and just in general. It'll be fun to talk about this.
Yeah, it's a different type of wrestling show than we've ever done.
And it's a different type of music show that we've ever done.
It's been a long
It's been a long
We
time.
haven't done that in a little
It's been
while.
a long
It's
time.
been months and months and months and months. I don't remember what the last music episode we even did was.
That's a good question.
The Killers, I think.
Are you serious?
Yeah, the killer killed it.
The Killers killed
The
it?
Killers
Yeah.
killed it.
So we did
great.
Muse before the Killers, I think.
We didn't do was Foo Fighters after or before?
I don't
Maybe it
remember.
The
was.
color and the shape.
Might have been. I don't know.
Yeah.
All I know is the Killers fucking put the fucking couple of knife wounds in.
Yeah.
Okay, well
Yeah,
that's
so
exciting.
join us for that next week. It'll be a lot of fun to go down that trail with you guys. In the meantime, we appreciate everybody being here this week, everybody tuning in. We appreciate the shit out of you, and we hope that you know that.
I actually appreciate the piss out of you, so.
A little bit of both.
Yeah.
So we'll see you all next week.
Nothing good.
Dave startled the witch.